We never planned to visit the Briarcliff Hotel. It wasn't on our map. It wasn't even on Google Maps when we searched for it later. We were driving through Colorado on our anniversary trip. Me and Ryan, 6 years married, always chasing little adventures. The car had been running low on gas, and the sun had started to dip behind the ridges when we saw it. A sign carved in fading wood, Briarcliff Hotel, since 1906. The letters were chipped and crooked, but there was something about it almost inviting, like the kind of place that had stories inside its walls. "Looks old school," Ryan said, slowing the car. "Maybe it's one of those historical hotels." I looked up. The building stood high above the road. White columns, tall windows, the kind of structure that looked more like a mansion than a hotel. The last rays of sunlight painted the facade in a strange golden hue, beautiful and haunting all at once. "Let's stay," he said. I hesitated. There was something heavy about the air. Still, it was getting dark, and there were no other hotels nearby. So we turned in. The lobby looked like it hadn't changed since the 1920s. Faded red carpet, a chandelier with missing crystals, and a grand piano sitting silently in the corner, its keys yellow with age. Behind the counter sat an old man in a black suit, pale as chalk. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Evening," he said softly. "Checking in." "Yes," Ryan replied. "One night. 4-2. The man's hands trembled slightly as he flipped open a large leather register. "You're in room 313. Top floor. Beautiful view of the valley." He slid the key, an actual brass key, not a card, across the counter. As Ryan picked it up, I noticed the man's name tag. It said Mr. Grayson. Something about the way he looked at me made my stomach twist. His eyes, pale gray, almost lifeless. "Do you get many visitors up here?" I asked. "Only the ones who find us," he said quietly. Room 313 was at the end of a long hallway, lit by dim yellow bulbs that hummed faintly. The carpet swallowed the sound of our footsteps. Each portrait we passed on the wall seemed to follow us, painted faces of people long dead. When Ryan unlocked the door, it creaked open like a sigh escaping from inside. The room was surprisingly clean. A large canopy bed, old-fashioned wallpaper, lace curtains fluttering against the window. A faint smell of lavender and dust lingered in the air. "Nice," Ryan said, dropping our bags. He grabbed his camera. He was a travel vlogger, always recording. "Maybe we'll feature this place on the channel." People love creepy hotels. I smiled, but something in me didn't feel right. I noticed the wallpaper, patterned with vines, seemed darker near the ceiling, almost like it had been burned once. There was an old mirror opposite the bed, its glass warped slightly. As I looked into it, I saw our reflections and something else. For a moment, I thought I saw another figure standing behind us. A woman in old-fashioned clothes, her face turned away. Then Ryan spoke, breaking the spell. "What do you think? Haunted or not?" I forced a laugh. "Let's hope not." That night, the temperature dropped suddenly. The heater stopped working around midnight. Ryan was already asleep, but I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. That's when I heard it. Tap, 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 like someone gently knocking from inside the wall behind the headboard. At first, I thought it was the pipes, but then the knocking started moving. Across the wall, up near the ceiling, then down toward the floor. "Ryan," I whispered, shaking him. "Do you hear that?" He groaned. Probably the building settling, babe. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But the sound kept going, more deliberate now. Then from the corner of the room, the old rocking chair started to move back and forth, slow, creaking, steady. My breath caught. Ryan, he sat up wide-eyed. The chair stopped. We stared at it for what felt like forever. Finally, he got up and walked over to it. "Loose floorboard," he said, forcing a smile. But his voice trembled. He stopped the chair with his hand. The instant he did, a cold gust of wind rushed through the room. The curtains lifted like hands reaching out, even though the window was shut tight. That's when the lamp beside the bed flickered, once, twice, then went out completely. In that darkness, I swear I heard a whisper right beside my ear. A woman's voice. Soft, sad, "Don't stay the night." When I woke up, sunlight was pouring through the window. For a second, I thought maybe I had dreamed it all, but Ryan's face told me otherwise. He was pale, eyes red-rimmed. "You heard her too," he said quietly. I nodded. We went downstairs for breakfast. The dining hall was nearly empty. Just us, a young waitress, and the same old man from the front desk, sitting in the corner reading a newspaper. "Sleep well?" he asked, not looking up. Ryan hesitated. "Not exactly." The old man smiled faintly. "Room 313 has a reputation." "What kind of reputation?" I asked. He folded the newspaper slowly. "They say back in 1913, a newlywed couple checked into that room. Only the bride made it out, and she was never the same again." Ryan frowned. "What happened to the husband?" The old man's eyes met mine. "Some say she buried him under the floorboards herself." I felt the blood drain from my face. "That's just a story, right?" He smiled again. "Everything's just a story until it happens again." That afternoon, Ryan decided to explore the hotel. He went down to the basement to check out the old boiler room while I stayed upstairs, flipping through a photo album I'd found in the lounge. The pictures were black and white. Early guests, banquets, smiling faces. But as I turned the pages, one photo caught my attention. It was labeled the Newlyweds 1913. The woman in the photo looked exactly like the faint reflection I'd seen in the mirror last night. Same white dress, same sorrowful eyes. And beside her stood a man whose face had been scratched out, violently, with something sharp. Suddenly, I felt a cold breath behind me. My hands froze. I turned slowly. The room was empty, but on the table beside me lay a small silver locket that hadn't been there before, engraved with the initials EW that night. Ryan came back pale and silent. "There's a door down there," he said finally. "In the basement, hidden behind some old shelves. It's locked from the outside, but I swear I heard something inside, like crying." "Ryan, let's just leave," I said. "We can drive tonight, find another place." He shook his head. "No, we can't just leave without knowing." He was always like that, too curious for his own good. When we went to bed, he set up his camera on the dresser, aimed at the bed. "If anything happens tonight," he said, "we'll catch it." I didn't sleep at all. At exactly 3 a.m., the mirror across the room fogged over, though the air was freezing cold. And then, slowly, words began to form on the glass, written by an invisible hand. "He's still here." Ryan jumped up and grabbed the camera. "Holy, did you see that?" The rocking chair started moving again. The wardrobe door creaked open, and then the faint outline of a man appeared in the mirror, standing right behind us. He was tall, dressed in an old black suit. His face, pale, eyeless, twisted into a grotesque smile. "Who are you?" Ryan shouted. The man raised one finger to his lips. "Shoo." The lights exploded. The lights blew out. A sharp crack, then complete darkness. I screamed, clutching Ryan's arm. The only light left was the faint red blink of his camera recording. The air turned thick, heavy with a smell like burning wood and wet soil. Something was moving, slow, dragging footsteps across the carpet. Ryan. He grabbed the flashlight from the nightstand, flicked it on. The beam sliced through the dark and landed on the rocking chair. It was still moving, but no one was sitting in it. Behind it, the mirror had cleared again. Only now, our reflections weren't alone. Standing between us and the reflection was the same man from before. Black suit, burned face, a gaping hole where his eyes should have been. Ryan shouted in through the flashlight. The glass shattered. Our reflections broke into shards. For a second, everything stopped. The silence was so deep I could hear my own heartbeat. Then the sound came. A slow, rhythmic knock. Knock, 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 coming from the floor. Ryan dropped to his knees and pulled back the old carpet. Beneath it, a wooden panel. A trapdoor. "What the hell?" he whispered. He wedged his fingers into the edge and pulled. The wood groaned, dust billowing up. A gust of freezing air rose from below, carrying the smell of rot and something metallic, blood. "Ryan, don't," I begged. He looked at me, eyes wild. "This is it. This is what they're hiding." He swung the trapdoor open. Below us yawned a black staircase, narrow and steep, leading into nothingness. The knocking stopped. For a moment, neither of us moved. The air from below was cold enough to sting. Then Ryan switched the camera to night vision and started down. I followed, trembling. Every step echoed like a heartbeat. The deeper we went, the darker it got. Even the light from the doorway above fading into pitch-dash black to the bottom. We found a long corridor made of stone, lined with pipes that looked ancient. Water dripped from somewhere, echoing through the narrow hall. Old furniture lay broken along the walls. Chairs, trunks, even what looked like a child's toy chest. Then Ryan stopped. The camera light caught something carved into the wall. Names. Dozens of names. Some had been scratched out violently, others written in shaky handwriting. At the very bottom, fresh letters had been etched in stone. Emily Walker. I froze. My name. Ryan. I whispered, my voice cracking. Who did that? He turned slowly toward me, his face pale. We just got here. Before we could say another word, a low moan filled the air. Not from far away, from right behind us that I turned. She was there, the woman from the mirror. Her face pale and translucent, her dress stained with something dark around the hem. Her eyes were empty, her mouth trembling as she spoke in a whisper that echoed like wind through a graveyard. Leave him before he takes you too. Her hand rose, pointing toward Ryan. Then she screamed, a shrill, piercing sound that shattered every bulb along the ceiling. The entire corridor plunged into darkness again. Ryan grabbed my hand and ran. The flashlight beam bounced wildly across the walls. Behind us, footsteps followed. Heavy, slow, dragging like something half dead. We reached the end of the hallway. A heavy metal door rusted with age. Ryan threw his shoulder into it. It burst open, and we stumbled into a small underground room. There were no windows, only shelves lining the walls. And on those shelves, dozens of jars. Inside each jar was something dark, something floating. At first, I thought it was old fruit preserves, until I saw what was in one of them. A human eye. I screamed. Ryan pulled me back, staring in horror. What the hell is this place? In the corner stood a desk covered in old papers. He grabbed one, yellowed, fragile. The writing was cramped, messy, desperate. The bodies won't stay buried. I can hear them through the floor. The husband returns every night, searching for his bride. He wants her back. The next page was covered in red smears. Not ink, blood. Ryan's breathing quickened. We need to go. Now. We turned toward the door, but it was gone. The wall was solid stone. The air grew colder. My breath came out in mist. Then we heard it. A whisper, soft, but everywhere at once. Stay with us. The jars began to rattle on the shelves. The lids clinked like teeth. One by one, they began to fall, shattering on the ground. Something moved in the dark, a shadow pulling itself together. Arms, legs, a head. The man from the mirror. He stepped forward, each movement jerky and wrong, his body flickering like bad film. His burned face smiled. Ryan held up the camera like a shield. Who are you? The thing tilted its head. I am what remains. Then it lunged. The camera hit the floor, spinning. I saw flashes. The man grabbing Ryan by the throat, dragging him toward the wall. Ryan screamed. His body began to fade, his outline dissolving into smoke. Ryan, I shrieked, pulling at his arm. My fingers went right through him. His eyes locked with mine. Run, he choked out. Run. Then he was gone. I ran. Blindly. The corridor stretched endlessly, twisting and turning. Behind me, that voice followed. Emily, you promised you'd stay. I tripped, hit the ground hard. My knees scraped against the stone, but I didn't stop. I crawled toward a faint light ahead. It was the trapdoor, the way out. I climbed the stairs, gasping for air, and burst into room 313. The sun was rising through the window. Everything looked normal again. No dust, no broken mirror, no blood. Just silence. The camera lay on the floor, its red light blinking. I picked it up. The last clip it had recorded showed Ryan, alive, smiling, talking into the lens earlier that night. Then the frame glitched. His face distorted. The audio crackled. And in that distortion, another face appeared behind him. The man, his burned mouth whispering one word. Mine. After sunrise, I packed everything and ran downstairs. The lobby was empty. No guests, no staff. The front doors were chained shut. I screamed for help. No one came. Then, from behind the counter, a voice said softly, "Checking out already, Mrs. Walker?" It was the old man, Mr. Grayson, but he looked younger. His skin smooth, his eyes dark. "Where's my husband?" I demanded. He smiled. "You arrived alone, ma'am. Always have." I shook my head. "No, Ryan, he was with me. We checked in together." He opened the register, flipped to the last page, and turned it toward me. Only one name was written there. Emily Walker. I stumbled backward, tears in my eyes. "No, that's not true." He looked at me with a calm sadness. Sometimes, the ones who love too deeply can't let go. And the Briarcliff feeds on that. "What are you talking about?" But he didn't answer. He just nodded toward the staircase. I turned and saw Ryan standing there at the top, smiling faintly. "Emily," he said softly, "come back to bed." His eyes were empty,